4x4 intervals. They are all over the place right now. Cycling, swimming, in the gym, and obviously running. And coaches everywhere, they're recommending them. But in my opinion, I think they're overhyped. There are better ways to get faster that are scientifically proven. And here's what actually works. In this episode, you're going to find out what 4x4 intervals are and why everyone does them, the real science behind VO2 Max training, so you learn the fundamentals of how all this works, why 4x4s don't work for beginners or experienced runners, sometimes other VO2 Max research-backed workouts that are just as good, if not better. Plus, you'll get my free Improve Your VO2 Max guide that you can start using today. I'm Darren D. Lake, and I've been running for almost 30 years. I've researched and tested everything about VO2 Max that I can, or as much as I can, and that's helped me run a 16:45 5K. But my goal for all this stuff is to help self-coach runners learn the secrets that I've discovered so that you can get 1% better each day. Let's get into it. So what are these 4x4 intervals that you may have seen on YouTube and the interwebs, etc.? Think of your heart and lungs like a car engine. VO2 Max is your engine's max horsepower. VO2 Max measures how much oxygen your body can use during intense exercise. So you're going very fast, but you're using oxygen. It's like the limit of the oxygen. And it's measured in milliliters per kilogram per minute. So that's how it is in the VO2 Max. The higher VO2 Max equals more endurance, more speed, better race times. And it's also taking into account, obviously, the kilograms, your body weight. So the lighter your body weight and the more power or speed that you can produce, the higher VO2 Max you are. That's simple. 4x4 intervals work like this. You redline your engine for 4 minutes at 90 to about 95% maximum heart rate. You need to know your maximum heart rate. And you rest for 3 minutes, then do it again, 4 times total. The idea, you're pushing your max capacity over and over, and this kind of pushes out and trains your engine to handle more, and why the 4x4 method became so popular. It is a good method. And why is it so popular? So a 2007 study from Norway tested 4x4 intervals on active runners. The result, a 7 to 13% boost in VO2 Max in just 8 weeks. That's more than double the 3% from if you were to do zone 1, zone 2 steady state cardio on however you wanted to kind of progress and train yourself. And the research showed big VO2 Max improvement. Obviously, it was great for heart health. They tested out cardiac patients, and it was time efficient versus longer, slower runs. 30, 45, 60-minute easier runs, lower heart rate, and you got similar benefits. But here's the problem. This study only tested 4x4s against easy cardio. It didn't compare them against hard interval workouts and variations that also can improve your VO2 Max. Later studies did that, which I'll get into, because this is why it all gets super interesting. So over the last 15 to 20 plus years, I've tested a bunch of these VO2 Max workouts myself and have given them to runners that I coach at all different levels. And I found 4 alternatives that I really like, that work, and I think are just as good, if not better, than the 4x4s for different goals and different experience levels, which I'll break down very shortly. So why exactly do you think 4x4 intervals are overrated? Problem 1, too hard for beginners. If you're new to intervals, 16 minutes of near maximum effort is brutal. Most beginners can't handle 90 to 95% max heart rate for 4 minutes without falling apart. They end up doing a broken version. They go out too hard because they don't know their VO2 Max 5K pace. Then intervals 3 and 4 become absolute survival mode because they've already redlined, they've already popped, and it's not an actual VO2 Max workout because you're not hitting the speeds. That's another thing with VO2 Max, where you need to go fast enough to actually quote unquote, turn on your VO2 Max. You enter VO2 Max zone and you have to be at a certain speed. You can't just have a heart rate go up because you spiked earlier in the session, which leads me to problem 2. So if it's too hard for new runners, it's also too short for experienced runners and not hard enough. Here's the science. It takes about 2 minutes of hard running to hit peak VO2 Max. So in a 4-minute interval, you really only get about 2 minutes at maximum intensity. That's what we'll call that. And that's when you turn on your VO2 Max, as some people call it. Pete McGill calls it that, who wrote the book Fast 5K, which I love if you want to go check that out. The rest of that is still good training, the 2 minutes before you turn it on, but it's not peak stimulus of what we're doing. This is a very precise workout. This also comes from Jack Daniels, yes, the running coach, and he has the V-Dot calculator, and his decades of coaching, research, and his book. For experienced runners with strong aerobic systems, 4 minutes really isn't enough at VO2 Max to create the gains that you need once you get to that levels where you have to really, really be pushing yourself. You are getting fit, but if you want to get super fit, you gotta go a bit longer. You're leaving the results and the gains on the table. Problem number 3, it's not race specific enough. So think about a 5K race. Elite runners are at or near VO2 Max for 13 to 15 minutes straight. Good amateurs stay there 16 to 20 minutes. If you're only training your body to hold VO2 max for 2 minutes at a time, that's the peak VO2 max, you're not preparing for the race. You need longer intervals for race-specific endurance. So the law of specificity, the rule of specificity, whatever you call it, you got to do the thing to do the thing. You got to do the thing well to do the thing. Problem 4, limited research. So that original Norwegian study, it was great, but it only tested 4x4s against easy cardio. This is a beautiful thing about science. It can't test everything. It didn't compare them to other hard interval types. Enter this episode. That's what we do. So the other research shows different protocols. There are other research and science that showed this, and it's just as good, sometimes better for improving VO2 max. Depends on a lot of factors, experience level, your race goals, etc. So what should you do instead? I made it super easy for you, and I created the Improve Your VO2 Max guide. It's a free training plan with science-backed interval workouts. Think of it like the sampler platter, tapas, appetizers for VO2 Max. For more information and to get that free training plan, click the QR code here or link below in the episode description to get it right now. But here are the actual 4 workouts that I recommend. Here we go. Let's start simple and work up to advanced. When I start my race build phase, I always begin with the easier ones. I even do the easier ones in the off season. I'm experimenting with that and my body is liking it. I do shorter ones. You can modify them in a lot of different ways. Warning, VO2 max work is quite stressful and hard on your body, especially tendons and ligaments, higher injury risk if you're not prepared or coming back from time off. So I highly recommend you get my base training plan. The link is below, or up here you can watch the episode on base training, 6 weeks minimum before you go into VO2 max work proper. Here we go. Option 1 or variable or alternative workout 1, 30 by 30 protocol. This is the Billat method, and this is for pretty much anyone. So I like to give it to beginner runners in the beginning of their race build phase. And I like to do it because I have fast twitch muscles and I do very well with sprinting. So I give this to sprinty type runners that I coach. What is it? 30 seconds hard effort, 95 to 100% VO2 max, and 30 seconds easy jog. Repeat 13 times, rest 3 minutes, do 3 sets. That is 39 reps. That's a lot, and it's quite difficult if you're not ready for it. I'll talk about variation in a second. But since they're so short, those 30 seconds, the GPS doesn't really get exact pacing. So I would base this on effort unless you have a foot pod, or you could do power for the last 10 seconds. Or if you're on a treadmill, you can actually know the exact speed. But you really want to get your heart rate up on the last bits, like the last 5 to 10 seconds. Right at the end, your heart rate should be touching your zone 4 VO2 max area. Where to do it? I like to do this on softer surfaces like a track or grass or packed dirt, just because it's so hard on your body, especially in the beginning. And I found that the older I get, the more my body is just sore, Achilles especially. And if you've never done these before, just start with 6 of them, 1 set of 6. Then the next week you can do 2 sets of 6. Next week you can do 2 sets of 8. And then you can work your way up to 13 and then do the third set of 13. It does take a bit of time to get there also, because you have the 3 minutes rest in between all 13. Why I think it's better. It actually gets you up to VO2 max fast. So within those 30 seconds. And because you don't have that much time off, you only have 30 seconds of your recovering, your heart rate stays elevated. So you actually can turn on your VO2 max faster because you just keep going. So you're running at a fast speed, which means that VO2 max is being activated and you keep your heart rate elevated. It's a double win without tiring out. You don't run out of ATP and you don't feel depleted, because if you just sprinted with no rest, you would tire out. Try sprinting at the start of a marathon. You're not going to be able to hold that pace for the marathon, or you run a marathon in 1 hour. You also do more total time at VO2 max because you're running so fast, as I said before. And I think it's a mental game changer. The 30 seconds feels way more doable, even when you're hurting. And this whole method was put together by French researcher Veronique Billat. They discovered something wild by alternating the 30 seconds hard with 30 seconds easy. Runners spent almost 8 minutes at VO2 max. That's nearly triple the time versus steady hard running. Your oxygen consumption stays high even during these easy intervals. Here is the dope part. While 4x4 intervals get you about 8 minutes at VO2 max, the Billat 30-30 gets you nearly the same time, about 7 minutes, 50 seconds. But again, it feels way more manageable mentally. All right, option 2, workout 2, 12 by 400 meters. This is for all levels, but again, speedier folks that like to go fast, and at different times of the year, you can use these. What is it? 12 rounds or reps or laps. 400 meters, so 400 meters, 1 lap of a normal track at your current 5K fitness pace. Use the VDOT calculator, which I did an episode on. Check out the VDOT calculator up there or link below. Do half the time for recovery as it took you to do the rep. Example, run 400 meters, again, or 1 lap, at 80 seconds. That's what I would do. And then take 40 seconds, super easy jog recovery. I walk the first 10 seconds and then I do a little shuffle and then I'm ready to go at 35, 37 seconds and then 40 seconds, watch goes off. Or you can actually vary this and it's very similar. If you want to do slightly longer, you can do 8 by 600s or 6 by 800s. If you do the math, 12 by 400 gets you to 4,800 meters. 8 by 6 gets you to 48, 6 by 8 gets you 48, so it's all 4,800. And you want to do a similar half recovery protocol. So if 600 meters, I think that takes me 2 minutes, 100 seconds. 100 seconds, then I'll do 50 seconds recovery. I did a whole episode breaking this workout down. Up here or below in the episode description, I've done so much on this. Please check it all out. Why is this so good for VO2 max training? The short recovery, again, it keeps you in an elevated metabolic state the whole workout, similar to 30-30s, just a bit longer. You accumulate significant time in the VO2 max zone, even with the shorter intervals. 5K pace with short recovery is proven effective by coaches like Pete McGill. He's led 19 teams to national championships. And he wrote an awesome book, Run a Faster 5K, that I highly recommend if you're into running faster 5Ks. I base a lot of my training principles off of that book. It's beginner friendly, these 12 by 400s, shorter intervals. Again, they feel more manageable. It's distance based. It's easier to pace on a track. Try to do this on a track or area that you know is 400 meters versus GPS. GPS bounces around, or an open field, straight, flat. Try to do soft-ish surface or just straight pavement if you can. You can progress. If you want to start out, you can regress it and then progress it. So you start at 6 by 400s instead of 12 if you're new, and then you can build up to 8, 10, 12. Even if you want to go further, 16. Some guys do 20. That's more of like a 10K workout, but you're doing it at your 10K pace. But that's a conversation for another day. When you do 400-meter intervals at 5K pace with short recovery, the combined effect keeps you near VO2 max most of the workout, again, because your heart rate stays elevated. It's like the 30-30 principle, but I think it's even more manageable because you're not going as fast. With the 30-30, you're going quite fast. This isn't as fast because you're going longer. Here's a bit more science. So longer intervals, 3 to 5 minutes. You do spend more total time above 90% VO2 max, but 12 by 400 meters is still legit because it's beginner friendly and it builds running economy. So you actually get used to running faster than 5K slightly, and it's super specific to 5K racing. All right, before I get to the third option, can you do one thing for me? Watch this to the end. I would appreciate it. That's all you got to do. It tells the algorithms to show it to other runners. Boom, your good deed of the day is done. And you know what? Tell me in the comments if you hate 4x4 workout or if you love it. I want to know. Here's option 3, 6 by 3 minutes for intermediate runners. What is it? 6 rounds of 3 minutes at VO2 max effort. So you take a 2.5 minute jog recovery for this. Again, you do not shorten the rest. The goal is to feel fresh, not tired. Why it's better? Shorter intervals equal more doable for intermediate runners. You still get 18 minutes total work with 6 minutes at VO2 max. You can maintain intensity across all 6 reps, and it's less scary than the 4-minute intervals for newer runners. The research shows that 3-minute intervals hit the optimal duration for building early on and maintaining VO2 max work. It's long enough to reach and sustain VO2 max, but short enough to maintain quality. And here we go. Option 4, the 4 by 5 minutes Jack Daniels method. This is probably for experienced runners. You're adding that extra 1 minute, which is 25%, onto the 4 by 4, but it's very, very different. What is it? 4 rounds of 5 minutes at VO2 max pace. Again, roughly your current 5K pace. I actually do slightly slower for these longer intervals, and you want to use the VDOT calculator to get exact paces. You put in your latest time trial or race time, you plug it in, it gives you where you should be at. It is very, very accurate. You want to take 3 minutes jogging recovery. Do not shorten the rest because you feel good. The gains happen between the sets. Always 3 minutes. Do not go, oh, I want to do 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Don't play around with that until you're way more advanced, like years later. Why? I think 4x4 is better. 20 minutes total versus 16 minutes of work, 4x4. So it's 25% more than the 4x4. More time at peak VO2 max. So this is 12 minutes versus 8 minutes. This is 50% more peak time for just 1 minute more rep. And it's better for 5K and 10K race prep. Jack Daniels, who's coached Olympic runners, etc., he found that 5-minute intervals hit the sweet spot. They maximize VO2 max time, but they minimize how much lactate we build because you have that 3-minute rest. You want to clear the lactate out of your system and then you start again. If you go any longer, Once you start getting to 6, 7, 8, 10 minutes, you have too much lactate. We end up ruining the next few workouts, the next few days. It takes you longer to recover. So this is like just enough in there, and then we pull right back out. So for faster runners that can do 5K in 20 minutes or less, you can work up to 5.5 minutes. I know Jack Daniels basically says a mile. So you need to be able to run a mile very quickly, 1.6 kilometers. And you can do, I touch 5.5 minutes, but I'm out. So I get an extra 2 minutes total, because that's 30 seconds on top of the 12 minutes at VO2 Max. So it's actually worth it just to go 30 seconds. And you can actually cruise. This is something that I've actually been doing. You can cruise for the last 30, 45 seconds. Once you get your heart rate up, you don't have to keep going really hard. You can actually get it up, cruise on those last 2 minutes. And then the last 45 seconds, 30 seconds, I actually back it down, effort down to like a 7 out of 10. My heart rate's still elevated, but I'm still running fast. And you get very, very, very similar benefits without smashing yourself. Again, it's just a little bit in, and then we're coming out. This is not I raced feeling. You should feel very good at the end of your whole workout, like you could have done one more. So how would you fit this all in your schedule? I'd say weeks 1 to 2 of your race build. So this is probably about 12 to 16 weeks out from your race build. I would start with 12 by 400 meters. You want to build from 6 reps if you're brand new to this. Then weeks 3 to 4, you can progress to 6 by 3 minutes. And you're doing only one of these a week, by the way, one workout a week. And then weeks 5 to 6, advance to 4 to 5 minutes. And then anytime, if you want to throw them in, you can do 30 on, 30 off for variety. You could start with that for the first week, then do 6 by 400s or 8 by 400s. And again, I stress this, VO2 Max work once a week is fine for new runners. Your body needs probably about 3 to 4 days to recover from this. So you can do a tempo run if you want 2 to 3 days after a VO2 Max workout. Experienced runners can do 2 of these a week, but that's like some next level stuff, advanced stuff. So I wouldn't mess around with that just yet. So if you want to implement this right now into your training, go and get that free VO2 Max training plan, kind of tapas, little sampler platter of sorts, the QR code here or a link below in the episode description. You'll also get my newsletter that has deeper dives on threshold training, strides, and other running tools and tactics. It's 5 minutes per week in your inbox so that you can get 1% better. But nailing VO2 Max workouts is only part of the equation. Knowing what VO2 Max actually is, how it's measured, and how your smartwatches might be lying to you is actually the step before this. Go and watch that episode below or in the episode description. Peace.